Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Speak. We are joined by the amazing Sunit, who is going to give us a little bit of an intro into her and also what her question is for this episode. So take it away, Sunit.
Awesome. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for inviting me onto the podcast. My name's Sunit Atwal. I'm a risk professional. I'm super passionate about bringing diverse perspectives to help businesses thrive. And that's sort of driven me to work in a range of different industries, for small businesses to global organizations in both UK and international roles. And I absolutely love what I do. I just wanted to drop that in there. Love working in QHSE. So my question today was around purpose. So we spend a lot of time talking about process deviation, but what about deviation from purpose? So, for example, how often do we go back and reflect on tools that we've developed for helpful tools for our operational teams to see if they've now become tick boxing exercises or supportive reviews, now policing visits, or hazard reporting, just a numbers game? Why don't we talk about purpose?
Yeah, I love that. Particularly the numbers game is a really great framing for, I think, what every single safety professional can say when they walk and see those stats. If you join an organization, so many times you can look at the reports, the statistics, whatever, and just think, oh, either no one's bothered about them, or they're not gripping anyone, or there's no purpose behind them. So we're just churning the same reports out and they've lost that meaning. So I love that numbers game, because it is, have we provided what we were supposed to provide? Because it's a deck with some numbers in to say up or down and say, yep, we're on top of the ones that are down or up or whatever. But it's one of the first things that I dig into. And I love that, which is, well, why are you measuring it? And do you do anything as a result of the measure? So yeah, I think revisiting purpose around numbers definitely grabs me. What about you, Elise, in terms of revisiting purpose?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one of why don't we talk about purpose? And it's because I think it's because it makes people really uncomfortable because we do so much stupid shit in safety.
Yeah.
So when you go oh hey, so why are we actually doing this though? And then you just the fucking hackles go up and people are like, oh, this good, we've always done it this way. It's oh, fucking great answer, man. Well done. It's just,
yeah.
Or why does the form look like this? Or why do we have to do X or what? And people really don't like drilling into it, I don't think. It's kind of I don't know, I think there's a bit of cognitive dissonance there. It's people know that it's bullshit, but they don't want to admit that it's bullshit, because then does that mean that we are bullshit or that our jobs are bullshit?
Yeah. Well,
I love that. Does it mean that we are bullshit?
Yeah.
Well,
but I think it's that whole thing around, you hear, and I think it's the same question, is people say, well, do you want to be a compliance function? Which means you're just going to turn the numbers out and measure the paper. This is what we comply to, and yay, the paper's there. And we'll retrain to the paper, by the way, when it goes wrong. We're not going to ask whether that's a decent piece of paper or who it was written by. Or do you want to be a proper safety department organization and drive for the safety of people? And it is the purpose. Is your purpose paper, or is your purpose people? Is almost step one that drives your entire direction if you're running a team. And I've met a lot of people that are like, well, it's compliance because that's what we've always done, and that's what success is. We are told success is. Can't think of anything more vomit worthy than someone saying their purpose is just to drive to the same piece of paper that was written without the person that does the thing. Don't like it.
And why don't we ask our business leaders what they think our purpose should be as well? So we often have those conversations as QHSE teams or risk professionals, whatever we're calling ourselves these days. But why, they're the ones who lead the business, so shouldn't they have an influence on what our purpose is?
Yeah. I think it's triggering a little chain of thought about, I think, successful engagement across an operation or an organization for me does also start with understanding hashtag it's not all about you. I might have my purpose and why I do safety, and I'm going to drive my safety guys in that same direction. But somebody running an FM function or a retail function or a logistics function, they're going to have a different purpose. They have to. They're doing a different thing. And unless I understand their purpose, how can I make my work relevant to them? Because it should naturally, I know, and it's, you mentioned the word narcissistic, didn't you, at the beginning? I want you to dig into that in a minute.
That was before we started recording. We're like,
before the record. And I was like, oh, hold it. But I know why it matters to me. Hashtag's all about me. But I also know that it should matter to everybody in a different way. It pays dividends, whether it's like reducing harm, putting more people on the park, whether it is like less repairs to be doing, less upkeep, lower insurance, whatever it is, there is dividends of safety in everything. But unless I really understand your purpose, Mr. Operation Owner, how the hell am I going to make me relevant to you? And then therefore you care about what we're doing. So I think it's not just our purpose, but it's also making sure that we're really understanding that not everyone's purpose is, I'm not expecting someone open operation to say, my purpose is safety. I'm expecting you to
no, but it's their number one priority.
But I think, is this where it comes down to like being really honest about, I really do expect you to say it's delivering an excellent operation, whatever that operation is. I want you to say that because I can say, cool, this is how we help you do that. And we can have a great conversation about how they dovetail. I don't expect you to say, well, my purpose is the safety of my people. As a human, you don't want anyone to get hurt. That's obvious. But I exist and my people exist and my teams exist because that's our job. And that's our bit to do and to bring to life for you. So I think that whole thing around other people's purpose, not just ours, is also vital to getting it right and moving it forward.
Yeah, and is there a piece around having like a collective purpose as well as a business? So like, you know, when we talk about culture, we're like, is everyone, you know, invested in the corporate values and our vision and all of that? Like, is that like our ultimate purpose? Like I've never worked for a business where I'm like my purpose within a business has always been like the greater business purpose, because if we don't succeed or achieve whatever we need to as a business, I'm not going to have a job. And I really care about what I do, and I really care about helping businesses thrive. But so I think there's a piece there, like functionally we probably all have like our sub purposes.
Why?
What is your purpose?
Like, what is that in English? But and then we have this like organizational purpose as well, that we want everyone to be aware of and to work towards, and maybe that's how we can unite ourselves instead of being these conflicting bodies.
Oh, I feel like I've talked like Elisa thoughts. I can see that you're like ruminating.
I like when we were saying, okay, the top is going to be purpose. I was like, who is first going to bring up Simon Sinek? Who's going to be the first one to go? Start with why. And it popped into my head when you started saying, oh, organizational purpose. And the reason I was like, oh, who's going to bring it up? Because who am I going to have to say? Simon Sinek gives me the fucking ick.
Oh, I love him.
I fucking know you do. And I'm just like, Simon, put a cork in it. Like, come on. Start with why. Golden Star. Like, he's done what? He's very good at what he does.
Yeah.
Not surprising. He's from an advertising background. He's got this, you know, he's slick operator. But yeah, this thing of, oh look, I'm not, this is not me going, is it me going to slag off Simon Sinek as completely just fucking,
I mean, you've done Branson on here, so you know.
You did Branson.
You did Branson.
Crystal hates Richard Branson.
I love him.
Anyway, look, Simon Sinek's books could have been an article. That's fine. But his whole like start with why businesses don't work that way. Like this whole, like they don't like, oh, what's our entire purpose? They don't start that way. They might end up that way. But I think, yes, you can have this general purpose, company values, a lot of it is very corporate shtick. And it's like, I think expecting everyone to row along with that and internalize it. This is like mission led. I'm like, it's good marketing to be like fucking mission led, whatever. From millennials down, it's all like, we want jobs that are purpose driven and making impact, yada, yada, yada. But ultimately, the business's goal is to make money, unless you're a not for profit. And it's not like, the other thing is, it's not wrong to say that. It's not, money is not a dirty word. It's not like, oh no, our purpose is, your fucking purpose is make money. Like, that's grand. Like, it's fine. We live in a capitalist society. Like, it's totally fine to say that. But it just seems like people really want to be on the whole fluffy, fuzzy values, purpose stuff. And I just don't always buy it. And I especially don't buy it from Simon Sinek with his
we came into this, I've got no idea.
It doesn't start with why. It's whenever you talk about purpose, he pops into my head and he annoys me. Because where's he even from? What's his accent? What is that?
What are you saying, Sunit?
So I love Simon Sinek. And I know, horrible Lisa. But I don't know if I entirely agree. So I've worked in businesses where genuinely nearly everyone, the majority of people working there lived and breathed the purpose. And from the top, like, everything that we did was around that purpose. And it was so powerful and so motivational. Like, everyone was working towards the same thing. And yes, ultimately it is to make money, because otherwise, we wouldn't be a business and none of us would have jobs and all that. But they genuinely like live and breathe the values. I'm sure they still do. So I've seen it work, and I know that's like really rare, and it wasn't a huge business, but or a relatively small one, whatever, medium sized, but it worked.
Yeah, I am completely with you. I'll tell you what I was thinking. We don't talk about where we work on purpose, because we never want it to be about where we are. We want it to be about who we are and what we think. We want to separate it. But I would say where I am now, I've never been quite so inspired by an organization being so committed to doing one thing really well, and for the good of making it better for society. Let's say. And I find that whole purpose thing about what I really understand what we are doing. And also when you talk to the left and you talk to the right, and everyone's just like, well, this is my part of the big thing, and now this is what we drive for. And I think that is, I have to say though, it's taken 20 years to find one place that does this well. I have never worked for another organization, and I've worked in 9 industries where I've seen this. So they are very rare diamonds, I think. And on the flip of that, the previous place that I worked had their board cut up into separate mini organizations, and it was never clear what the overall thing, what were they doing, how did it all come together. And you kind of got a bit of an opaque view of like what it's to win. But what's winning? What's the purpose? What are we really doing? And there was the old part of the business that we were maintaining that paid all the bread and butter. And then there was the new part, because we knew we had to get, we had to be better. And you ended up with all these mini MDs, wildly protective of their world, wildly like, if something's going wrong, it's not me, it's them. And it was really disparate. It was really fractious, I would say. And most conversations in that organization were just combative, because everyone had their own purpose and they were not feeding into a higher purpose, as it were. And I'd say it was probably the most toxic place I've ever worked, but because of this, lack completely of. And I think even those organizations, and I come to your point, Elisa, where you're like, some of it is corporate BS and it's the values and stuff like that. And if I look even further back at an organization, I'm like, I think we're supposed to have like a mission and some like values and stuff. So we're going to pay people to do that. what it actually did is create some sort of, even if it was sort of candy, a bit sickly, some sort of cohesion where we could talk in a common language. Like we really respect it was like something about innovation, something about working together, some, you know, stuff like that. And so we would talk in this sort of common language, and it created a feeling of togetherness, even though it wasn't like, now I know how we win together and what we're winning. So I think token gesture is better than nothing. Nothing is horrendous. And yeah, if you manage to find one place that's genuinely very honest with themselves about what they are, and they're driving towards one purpose, it's pretty magic. But rare as rocking horse, for sure.
Yeah, like even when I hear both of you describe it, like I haven't experienced, I have not worked in, I've definitely worked in organizations that have the schlick banners and the slogans and these are our values, but I'm like, they are bullshit. And it kind of sounds, I'm being really cynical here, but it sounds kind of cultish.
I was actually going to say it was, and I stopped myself.
Like, especially the one you were talking about did sound quite like.
Literally, like, yeah. I mean, it was like a fantastic purpose, and it was for the my background's in science, so you know it was fantastic, but from an ethical perspective, but yeah, the way that everyone gets drawn in,
amazing. Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think I also then look out at these massive organizations that are, you said about that making money piece about it. I feel like there is a Simon Sinek video somewhere where it's just like, it's okay to get paid to do something you're really good at, and to provide like a service. And I'm going to deviate really quickly to a story of walking through a site when I worked on a nuclear site as a technician, and in like no money, but loving life, getting filthy. And this guy, I'm sure his name was Bob Cottrell, and he was like the original owner of this business that ended up being like a multi-million-pound business. And they got bought by GE, and he got like bajillions and millions of pounds, right? And somebody was slagging off that he earned that much money. And I still remember my ex-husband's dad swinging on his heels. He worked there, and he said, "How many people work on this site?" And the guy was like, 1,800. We were all drilled on expert to evacuate people. They're right. There are 1,800 families with mortgages paid, food on the table, clothes on backs, kids at school, going on holiday every year because of that guy, that one guy that started this thing. Give him whatever money. Just give him whatever it is that it is worth in terms of him providing a service. He has literally provided a community with an income and stability and a purpose and a thing to go to every day. I don't really care what you pay him. And I still remember that, which is really easy to be like, you're all getting filthy rich, or, you know, whatever it is, Netflix and the Facebooks and all these sorts of things. But I'm just like, how many households do they provide a service to, and a sense of fun or joy or whatever? Like I sit on that positive edge of.
You really are so fucking positive. I'm like, that's a real rose tinted. I'm like, fuck Jeff Bezos. He does not deserve all that money for all the fucking associates working at Amazon.
Could not have done single mum life without Jeff Bezos. Thank you, Jeff. Buy whatever jet ski you want, Jeff, because you delivered me cowpole through the post. Thank you.
Jeff. Anyway, to bring it back.
Yeah.
To bring it back, you had mentioned something about narcissism, Sunit.
Yes.
Where were you going with that?
Oh gosh. So I was thinking about deviation from purpose. Why do we never talk about it as safety professionals? Is it because, stealing your phrase now, it uncovers the bullshitness that we are bullshit? I think I just made up another word. Excuse me, I'm American. I can't help it. And then I was thinking about Stuart Hughes' article that he wrote, or his blog post, around the narcissism of safety. And is this linked to that?
Oh, the narcissist. That was a great article, actually.
I can't remember it. And sorry, Stuart, if you are listening, you know I love you. But bring that to life. For anyone that listening to this that has not read that article, give it in a nutshell and how you think it relates to this, or what question it poses.
Oh my God, this is so embarrassing now. So I read it like ages ago. It was called The Narcissism of Safety. And
Is it because we think everything is about us, essentially, right? Is we think everything is about safety and everyone should care about what we care about? Is it
that's sort of
along
what
those
I
lines?
took away from it,
Mm,
from memory.
yeah.
But Elisa, did you have any other, do you remember it better
I
than
am
I?
like scooting down through Stuart's profile at the moment. Like, where is it? Oh, and the article starts with, ever been to a party that got stuck with the drunk who keeps repeating themselves, or worse, the person who's evidently done too much cocaine and talks about themselves for hours? Well, that's safety. It's the sound of the safety profession and its obsession with safety. Safety talks, safety walks, safety moments, safety conversations, safety stand down, safety culture, safety, safety, safety. Oh, and then, I remember this actually. And then he goes, I don't know about you, but I've never been on an accountancy amble or tax tootle.
Yes, I do. Yeah, remember that.
Tax tootle. Oh, I love it. And yeah, it is that narcissism. We're obsessed with ourselves. We're obsessed with our jobs. We're obsessed with our purpose within a business.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just need to calm all the way down, I think.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's because our roles or our departments can really pull on that moral bit, the morals and the ethics, and we can beat people with it. And it gives us definitely that sense of superiority, I think.
Yeah.
Because
my
our
God.
purpose is above everyone else's.
So
And it's rude.
No, go for it.
I just can't control my mouth. I'm like, blah, blah.
Do it.
So I've had this this purpose conversation with like loads of different people recently, in various forums, and so many QHSE professionals that I've spoken to in the last like God knows how many years have said that our purpose is like, we're the conscious of the business, we're the conscious, and I'm like, does that make anyone else like physically sick? Like, I just can't stomach that. Like, what do you mean that like our leaders don't have a conscience, which is related to like the last pod, or 2 pods ago. But you know what I mean? Like, why do we think that we're these like superior forces of whatever?
And actually, that phrase, I think, does 2 things. One, it removes the accountability from the organization to look after its people. But also it kind of speaks, I think, to the maturity of your organization, because so you are being employed purely to make sure that these terrible people don't make terrible decisions. We are the conscience, because without us, the organization would what? Aim to do something completely different and dangerous. It's a bit self-obsessed, I think. It's back to that narcissist point, isn't it? About like it's us that make it better. You know what? It's really not. And back to Stuart, actually, I live by a phrase that he said to me. We were wandering around his site, and he was telling me about some safety controls he'd put in after a big event. And somebody said, can we take them away? He said, my job's not to say no. My job's to say how. If you can show me that all the risks that were present before can't materialize again, we'll pull them out. This is it. This is your workplace. This is your workshop. This is you. I put this in because there was risk. How? Just tell me how we get rid of them, and we will get rid of them. And I say that to all of my team. We are not no, we are just how. We're not conscience. We don't make people do things. And we also shouldn't be the no police. It should be, we are risk professionals. What our job is actually to say, this is providing risk in this way. This is how it will probably materialize and probably be the output of this risk if we carry on the way that we're going. My suggestion based on experience is to do these things, but it's your risk. What's your appetite? How far do you want to go? It is an organization's thing to go after and to grip and to say yes or no to.
But how rare is that though? Because how many safety professionals stomp around the place going, but I'm safety, these are the rules, this is what it says, I can't change them because, oh God, I'm gonna lose my shit. I'm the fucking safety police, can't have fun. No, you can't do this.
Yeah. I
Like,
mean, I hope they're getting rarer.
lads, they're not. We
Oh,
are, I don't know if I've said this before, we're in a fucking echo chamber here. Like, be very clear. There are less safety professionals with our mindset than not. That's what
And less safety professionals that genuinely act on what they say. So I feel like there are some safety professionals that are like, yeah, like, you know, we'll do things a bit differently. But then when it actually comes down to it, they're like, oh, no.
yeah. Yeah. No, I meant different, but I also meant the exact same. That's what I meant.
And, you know, that, the comment that was made around being the conscience of the business, when I heard that the most was when I was in a room, I went to an external event, and it was a room full of, I think there were 90 global or national QHSE leaders from various businesses in the UK in a room. And like, I want to say close to 40% maybe were like just throwing around we're the conscious. And we did this exercise on what's our purpose. And I was like,
yeah, but a lot of people do believe it. And there was a conversation between, I want to say, Dave Provan and James McPherson, maybe. I'm going to say that's who it was. Could be making this up. But anyway, wish we edited it. Anyway, I think James was talking about, at the time, he was talking about like a good PT, personal trainer, like you should be doing yourself out of a job. So should safety essentially be doing ourselves out of a job, where we're really enabling people, really upskilling people around risk and competency around understanding risk, all that stuff, to the point where it's no longer a siloed function, it's absorbed within the business. And then I think it was Dave kind of going, no, but you'll always need safety to kind of counterbalance when production or whoever just want to fucking go, that we have to be there pulling the reins a small bit, like that, acting as the conscience. So like, yeah, it's I don't like it. I definitely don't like it, and it does give me the ick, but I don't know that it's not going to be that way either. Like, just there's, because some, like, I mean, I have worked in businesses where there have been days where I could put my hand up and go, oh fuck, can we have a look at this? Like, maybe this is really dodge. And like, oh Jesus, yeah, actually we didn't think of that. Because they're just tunnel vision with the actual purpose, which is fucking making money, doing whatever. So like, that's, I don't think we can escape that.
Yeah. I was having some, just a momentary internal honest reflection, and I can remember in the very distant past using the phrase, I'm trying to think, and what I was trying to think about is, where was my mindset when I thought that? And the very interesting thing is, I probably used that phrase up until I was 25, something like a long time ago, 15 years ago. So, and it was because I genuinely felt that I had to stop dangerous things happening. I genuinely felt people were in trouble. And I genuinely thought, oh God, this company's going to hurt someone. And I think everyone's worked something like that, where they're just like, you wake up or you take the weekend off and I think, I really hope someone doesn't get hurt. And that's how I felt when I was using that phrase. I don't know whether it's like stuck, but that was my own internal thing of, I genuinely felt, but it felt like me being the conscience. I felt like I was fighting for the people that had no choice but to do really difficult jobs. And actually, if we're using them as leaders in those bigger rooms, that is icky, because you're not fighting for anything really. You're just, I think, probably inflating yourself. And then the other thing I was thinking is that thing about making yourself redundant. I have always operated under that mindset with it from the moment I got into leadership. I knew that great safety would, if I was ever to say I truly succeeded, it would be working for an organization that said, we actually don't need a safety department anymore. We get it so much. We're making great decisions. We understand risk. We don't need a separate department, because we just do this and we make it as simple as possible to be as safe as possible. And they don't need separate professionals. But I would also say it's really, really, it's privilege that allows me to drive in that direction. Because I know now I can truly do it. The point that I ever started saying, like, I am in this, belted in, I want to make myself redundant. I want to make the organization just support it in really growing in this way. It's because I know I can get another job.
Yeah, because there's fuckloads more businesses who are still up this shit.
For sure. So I know 100% if I drive that way and I was to succeed, which would be what a moment, I know that I could walk out the door and get another job, right? That's privilege. If you are 5 years in on the property ladder, really good safety professional, could you honestly drive to a point that was making yourself redundant? Of course you can't. Of course you can't, because, well, you need a job. And if you're earlier in your career, you haven't made the brand for yourself yet, the name for yourself yet, and you're fighting with the majority of your profession for each role. So it's utter privilege, really. Anyone that's just like, oh yeah, no, I work until I, am making myself redundant. It's not lost on me that only a few people can genuinely do that. So can really work in that way. So that's, just a reflection of me, which it comes with time, working in that really mature way and mindset. So yeah, just my thoughts.
Interesting. Sunit, is there anything now about purpose that we haven't covered? Have we gone so way off the track that it's like, why did I ask these people and their rabbit holes?
No, I mean, oh gosh, I love where we've gone. I guess on like a more practical day-to-day in the operations, like why, like, okay, so we figured out, okay, so we're safety narcissists, and that's why we go back and check ourselves, and admit when stuff is absolutely shit and not helpful to the business. But like what are some things that businesses can do? So like, say somebody's listening to this and they're like, oh my God, like I've implemented this tool, but I just want to go back and check and see if it's still working or not working. Like, what can they do? How do you know if something is tick box or not?
Yeah.
I think you gotta ask the question. You gotta put your big pants on, take a breath, go ask the question, and be prepared for the answer that it might be, actually, no, this is a bit shit. And leave, and as easy as it is to say it, it's so hard to do, leave your ego out of it. Because when you get like, you're like, oh, this thing is going to be great. I did this thing and I made this. It's going to be so good. And you're all excited and you're hyped and you put it out into the world and it falls on its arse. And you kind of you're like, oh. So I think it is that thing. If you have to be brave. You have to go out and ask the people who are the people who it's for. You have to ask them, does this do what I had intended it to do? And if they say no, then you have to be like, thank you so much for telling me. I'm going to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah. And I would lift up one stage more than that, because very often I think we can get lost in what we think needs to happen. And actually when something's put into full use, it can be like,
before you do the thing.
Before you do the thing.
Before you do the thing.
And I'd said this in passing the other day, and somebody said that they've adopted this as like a daily question because it helps. What a key question for me is, what has this helped change? Like materially, what has it helped me / us change? If it is a report, what does this change? What does this generate? What does it make people do, say, act, do differently? What has it changed? If it's nothing, and it's the same conversation and the same action and the same output, you could probably burn that report, because what's it doing? And then in terms of systems, everything put in is supposed to be because it needed to change something. Something wasn't present that needed to be. So yeah, my key thing would be that checklist, that hazard thing, that walk, that report, that system. What has this helped me or us truly change? And has that change, is that beneficial to the business or people? That's what I would be asking. And I think it kind of winds down to your original point about purpose, is when you put this walk or talk in, what was the purpose of it? Where did it come from? Is it because this was a hotspot accident area, you wanted to do a toolbox talk to say this is really dangerous? Has the purpose been served?
Yeah.
Is it done?
Like, because you can literally implement something for a finite amount of time and then remove it again. Like, that's totally allowed, guys. You can totally go, yeah, we're going to do this for X amount of time.
Yeah.
But
Isn't stopping things scary? That stop, start, continue. Oh, we're terrible at saying, Yeah, we'll stop issuing that report to 157 people on the distro, because what happens if we don't send it?
Nothing.
No, just put it somewhere and let people pull. If they want it, they can get it.
Yeah.
You know, we can stop.
Oh my gosh, I love that point about how the purpose can change over time. Like, I think that's so important, and it's something that we don't talk about that as much as maybe we should. But yeah, we put things in place, even things like, I don't know, hazard reporting. Like, you may need to start by saying like everyone needs to submit a certain number of hazards just to like get people in the momentum of actually doing that. But like, once you've achieved that, then maybe you need to go back, revisit that purpose. Okay, well, why are we reporting hazards in the first place? And then set a new benchmark and then kind of work towards that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so funny because like we talk about continuous improvement like all the time, but it's like, do we actually do that ourselves?
Lol.
No.
Like,
that whole thing about starting in one way, and you get people snarling, don't you, about, oh, like the argument about incentivizing safety, this, that, and the other. And actually, the purpose could be, why did you do this part? Actually, we did this part to create muscle memory, to actually make people really aware of the process, to make them, just to stress test the system, maybe whatever it is. The purpose at the beginning doesn't even need to be attached to what is 5 years down. Like, if you're truly iterative and getting better and better and moving forward, it could be, why do we have this system? Why have we put this in place? Why have we incentivized reporting? Because no one reports. And it'd be really good for people to be able to say it in 6 months' time. If I walk down the site road and say, how do we report? And everyone's like, well, I know exactly how, because I got a free pen or whatever it was that I wanted to get. And then, like you say, completely reset that benchmark of, we're not incentivizing anymore, but we know you all know how. This is now the purpose. I think that's a golden moment of just allowing yourself to shift and learn and be honest about why you start something the way you do. Doesn't have to be perfect at the off.
yeah.
And I think we need to not be afraid as safety professionals either. Like, we're so scared of like something going wrong, somebody getting injured, or of all of that. So we hold on to everything with like dear life. And it's so difficult to then go back and like reflect, like, is this actually helping achieve whatever it was intended to?
Yes.
So I think that's something that we just need to be mindful of, and just not feel this like we put this huge burden on ourselves to like come up with all the solutions. So if something isn't working and somebody put this checklist in place like 50 years ago, and now we're like, ooh, it's not really serving its purpose, but like, oh my God, I have to come up with a solution. Like, no, we don't. The people who do the work, like, go and talk to them, and they'll probably help you and have a much better solution than you would, because you do the work.
I guarantee they will.
They'll have thoughts.
There's nothing, for sure, right? Nothing that we can probably ever suggest, write down, create about an operation, how something is done, than somebody that does it every single day. What, even that beautiful question of, what on a really rough day, how do you get this done really quickly? Like, if you are like, it's your anniversary, you're an hour late, you're busted, how are you getting this job done? Oh, we do this and this. Okay, cool. How do you reckon we could do this and make this quicker in a safer way? Like, just together. But yeah, I suppose that drives us back to our purpose. That's our true purpose as a profession, is how are we really working? Is that safe? Can we make this better? And it's the how thing, isn't it? It's not, no, can't do that, that's really unsafe, don't do that. Well, how can we do it? What's the way to make this as safe as we can make it?
Yeah, and it's even like, is that safe? And this could send me off down another, and we're about to wrap, but like, it's actually, is the risk tolerable? Can we stop talking about the word safe and saying, is it safe? Like, it's so subjective.
Yes.
Because the amount of times I've walked onto a site and go, that looks dodgy as fuck, and they've gone, you don't understand what you're looking at. And they'll take me over and they'll talk me through it, and they're like, oh, okay, because they understand the risk and and they have the competency and they have the experience. Whereas I'd look at something and go, I don't like it, stop doing it. And they're like, you don't understand.
You don't get this.
You don't get this.
I tried to write the first chapter of a book called What is Safety? And the rabbit hole of, just got to just stop using the word safe. My home is not risk-free. Why the hell would my workplace be?
Yeah.
So that is another episode.
It is. It is. And I think, yeah, we should probably wrap it there. We're coming to the end of commute time.
Yeah. Yes, we are. So thank you to everybody who has listened to this episode of Speak. Sunit, you're going to have to come on again, I'm afraid.
You're going to have to come on again.
Oh my gosh,
A
I'm
wicked
like just
question.
the biggest fangirls.
Amazing. We know you're going to be listening to yourself on the train or in your car. But amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Sunit, and thank you to everybody for listening and joining us for this episode of Speak. We hope it served a purpose. See, I didn't we hope you join us in a couple of weeks for the next episode of Speak. Take care and stay safe.
See ya.
Bye.